So this is going to be a little tutorial on how to make my quote-unquote special skink mix. If anybody is wondering what the skinks here at the breeding facility, as well as what mine eat at home, because basically this is just a bigger recipe, a bigger version of what my skinks at home eat. I'm going to walk you through the process. Today they're getting a mix of carrots. I'm actually doing ground beef this time. About 90% of the time I actually do lean ground turkey, but after talking to some other folks that keep blue tongues, they were suggesting a lot more protein basically for the diet, especially when combined with all of the veggies that these guys get. So I'm going to try a little bit of ground beef. At home, this would be like a once every other month kind of thing. These guys are only going to get it. I mean, I've been feeding the ones here at the warehouse for a few months now, and mine at home have never gotten ground beef before. And they're all doing great. So this is just going to be to see if a little bit of extra calories are going to be any good for them. They also get, every so often I switch them with gizzards and hearts. They also get superworms. I'm going to be mixing in some of these Zoo Med diets. This is going to be to fatten up a couple of the girls that look gravid. And then this is the papaya and red banana to basically make it sweeter for them. I like to use spring mix because this is going to give you a bunch of different kinds of lettuce for a lot less money and a lot less effort than buying 6 heads of lettuce. And then here's a bunch of different kinds of veggies that I'm going to be adding in. So first, I'm cheese grating some carrots to make it easy to mix them. I'm also going to cheese grate in a summer squash here. Obviously I'm going to wash it off first. The Red Bull is not for the animals, that's for me. That is what I drink on a daily basis. The animals definitely don't need any extra sugar or caffeine in their diet, so don't give them Red Bull. But anyway, summer squash is next. And this is what's left of either I've seen it called a Mexican squash, a white squash. I don't know what kind of squash it is. It's just a different kind that I usually find in the same section as yellow squash, zucchini, and cucumbers. So it's basically just another thing to add as variety to our mix in here. So go ahead and cheese grate that up. And here are some radishes and radish tops. I'm going to grate the radishes and actually chop up the tops to add as greens in here. I don't think I'm going to use all of these tops, so I'll just put what I don't use into my bin of greens here, and I'll just use it at a later date. But I definitely think I'm going to use at least half of these radishes. Not all of them though, they don't need that much radish. It does turn their urates pink if you feed your animals a bunch of radishes. I have seen this happen with Russian tortoises actually. Their urates just turned pink after they ate a bunch of radishes. So while it's not going to do them any harm, it's just something to look out for. Don't be alarmed if you feed a bunch of radishes and you see your animals' urates turn pink. So now we've got our radishes, some squash, carrots, and radish tops. And over here, this is about the size pile that I'm going to use to make the greens. You'll see that there's actually some spinach, different kinds of lettuces. I'll actually sometimes also get an herb mix, which includes things like cilantro in it, and a few other different kinds of lettuces. So it ends up, there's a ton of different kinds of, there's a few different kinds of mixes that you can get. Just make sure that you try to get as many different kinds of lettuce in there as possible. It does make it a lot better for your skinks. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to chop it up into tiny little pieces so that I can, again, easily mix it with the rest of my slop that's happening over there. And what I'm doing here is finely chopping up a little bit of cactus pad, adding it to the mix there. The cactus pad, I've taken all the spiky things off, and I'm very finely chopping it. I'm using it just as something to add variety to the diet. It's basically, with most things that you find at the store, it's the same 5 to 10 veggies that you're going to find just about anywhere. Cactus pads, no, I know that some of you are probably watching this going, but Jen, there's no prickly pear in Australia. Probably, but how much of what's in there is in Australia for wild skinks to eat? I'm gonna bet you it's not a whole heck of a lot. I am pretty sure wild skinks don't eat carrots or Mexican squash, but they're doing just fine with a diet of that anyway. So a little bit of prickly pear just to add variety to the diet, see if they like it, isn't gonna hurt. I know that Uromastyx like it, I know that tortoises like it, I know that iguanas like it. These are all vegetarian animals, and a lot of them don't really have a ton of access to chopped up prickly pear cactus in the wild. So it's, again, just something to add variety to the diet. The stuff is actually really gooey almost and sticky, so I've got a feeling that it's going to be pretty sweet. I've never personally eaten prickly pear, so I couldn't tell you how delicious it really is. But as far as something to add to the diet, it works really well for a lot of our other vegetarian species, so I figure as a part of the vegetarian aspect of our Skink's diet, it was on sale at the store anyway, might as well try it. So this just goes to show you, just go ahead, try something new. You know, when it comes to skink food, don't be afraid to try different things. As long as you're using it in moderation and it's part of a varied diet, there's very, very little that you really can't feed them. Use common sense. I mean, don't feed them anything you wouldn't feed your dog, so that eliminates onions, no grapes, you know, kind of the same kind of logic that you would apply to a dog. Just, you know, try to keep it nice and healthy for them. So go ahead and finish chopping this up, and then we're going to add the meat. I am also going to add in this banana. Again, basically what the fruits do, the papaya and then this banana are going to do is they're going to make it kind of mushy and sweeten it up, because a lot of these veggies, honestly, most skinks aren't going to enjoy that much on their own. I have seen an adult northern eat an entire banana by herself. My skinks at home sometimes get an interesting diet. I had a female that ate an entire banana by herself. So they have quite an appetite. So this one banana between 40 skinks is not going to be so much sugar or so much fruit that it's going to be an issue, especially compared to all the rest of the veggies that are in this bowl already. But that being said, I don't recommend feeding your skink an entire banana. Mine kind of stole it from the other skinks when she was being housed with my male and ate quite a bit of the banana. And I honestly, if you've ever tried to take food away from a blue-tongue skink, it's easier just to let them eat it. The poop afterwards was not the best, and I have not done it since, and I highly recommend that you not offer your skink an entire banana. But they do enjoy them very, very much. So it's something to add to the food to kind of basically make it a little bit sweeter and make them eat the foods that they don't normally enjoy, such as veggies. So go ahead and cheese grate this up too. I will be the first to tell you that there is no easy or clean way to cheese grate and mash up a banana, but using a cheese grater to kind of get it mushy definitely does make it quite goopy, which is perfect for mixing in here. And then now we add a few eggs, and for two of these logs here, of these 1 pound logs, I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, and 4 eggs. And then you mush them all in. You'll notice that these eggs are raw and I'm leaving the shells in. That is because the shells are going to be good for calcium, and basically raw eggs are going to be, again, nice and mushy and help kind of make it easy to mix this. And on top of that, honestly, wild skinks don't get access to cooked egg very often, so again, it's kind of unnecessary to cook it for them. It does kind of, if you're feeding them just a raw egg, it would make it a lot easier for them to eat, but you really shouldn't be feeding your skink nothing but a single raw egg. They are high in a lot of the stuff that's bad, like cholesterol and fat and things like that, so you don't want to feed them nothing but egg, because nothing but egg is going to be bad for them. But an egg is a part of a diet, a more varied diet, such as this mix here. That's going to be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this goop up, and then I'm going to add both of these 1 pound logs of ground beef to the mix, and then mix that up too. And then added to the top is a generous helping of Reptivite. This time I use ZoomMed Reptivite with D3. You can also use RepCal, the calcium with D3, as well as a little bit of Herptivite. There's also the Repashy Calcium Plus, which is pretty good. If you're just making enough for one skink, you're really not going to need a ton of vitamin in there, but I am again offering this to 40 of them, and so I need a little bit more calcium for basically just the sheer quantity of food that I'm making. You might be asking from the beginning why I'm not feeding beef more often. For one, it's more expensive, and when you, to be frank, when you're feeding 40 skinks or even just my 5 at home, you don't want to be spending 10 to 20 bucks every single time you make them food. It quickly becomes quite expensive to get the amount of beef that you would need for them, especially lean beef. This was 73% lean and then the rest fat beef. Turkey is going to be much, much leaner. And in the majority of cases, you're trying to maintain the weight of your skinks, not add weight. This mix is for a bunch of skinks that are being conditioned for breeding. So I honestly want them to be gaining weight, to be nice and fat. So using beef isn't going to be such a big deal. And then again, like I said earlier in the video, this is really honestly the first time I've really offered them beef. Primarily what you're going to be offering them is lean turkey, lean ground turkey. That's going to be much better for in the long run for a pet skink. And even just honestly for even breeding skinks, if you're just maintaining a colony. To give them extra calories, you can offer them beef. We also offer, again, the gizzards and hearts, the papaya, the can of snails, which I actually need to add the papaya in here. So there you go, the papaya and red banana mixed in there. And one of the reasons I like using the Zoo Med stuff is that it is literally papaya, red banana, and a little bit of oil and gum, basically just to keep it from going bad and to keep it cohesive. So it's pretty much just fruit that you can add in there. So if you're from a part of the country, or if you have a harder time getting fruit like papaya and red banana and having it stay good for a long period of time, these Zoo Med canned mix-ins work fantastic. So now I get to mix all of this up. And again, the whole reason that I don't normally do beef is because it is higher in fat, higher in calories, which most skinks don't need. But again, I'm conditioning a bunch of skinks to breed. So I do want them to gain some weight and to be a little bit heftier. So I figured I'd give it a shot and see how they do with a little bit of beef added to their diet once in a very long while. So now to mix this giant smorgasbord of mush up here. Now I'm actually not offering the gizzards and hearts mixed in with this because I actually have a system that I note on all of the skink cages, noting which skinks prefer the mix over the gizzards, which ones will readily eat the gizzards, which skinks actually prefer insects over the skink mix. And then the snails are actually also just going to be added on top of the particular skinks that I know will eat them. This helps eliminate waste and make sure that the skinks all get what they're actually going to eat. And again, this whole thing of gizzards, 40 is not honestly enough for 40 skinks, so I'm just going to offer them to the skinks that I know are going to eat them. I might offer one or two again to them to try. It doesn't hurt to try every couple weeks just to see if they've changed their mind, because sometimes they do once they've worked up an appetite. So, and then I also feed them in these disposable mealworm dishes, just to make it easier for cleanup. So this is actually going to be a helping for our big adult female northern, and she loves the gizzards and the hearts, which are really gross to touch. And she's also going to get a little bit of snails. And she also gets the snails. Come here. She is normally quite voracious and tries to eat my fingers all the time. Come here, darling. I knew she'd enjoy it. She's actually already almost cleared her entire plate of food. The little piggy here. Bless you. She is a nice big old female. It took her a little bit when she first got here to get used to eating this mix instead of just superworms, but a little bit of tough love, and as you can see, she very happily is working it all down. This skink here is another one of my favorites because he eats anything. He's a big old Indonesian here. Doesn't care what I'm doing to him, just keeps eating and shoveling food in his mouth. Looks forward to feeding day all the time. Doesn't believe in taking little bites at all. So, and you can see he's happily eating his veggies. There's carrots and greens and stuff going down there. He is not just picking any one thing out, which is a good sign. That's one of the reasons I actually like to cheese grate everything, is because it does make it so in order to get what they like, which is the eggs and meat and protein, they do have to eat a lot of those veggies, which makes it a lot better for him. He just loves shoveling the food down. What are we going for first today? Gizzards. It's not good betting all of your food here. Eat some of that. But the nice thing is that once most of these guys figure out that there's food, they'll just start eating and they won't care too much about who's around. Well, they like beef. And here is one of our Irian Jayas. This one has a little bit of some head scarring, but he, she, it is always a really voracious eater and comes right up, as you can see, to chow down. Skink food. Watching them eat just cracks me up. There's a whole body shot if you want to check her out. Him, her, it. Don't know for sure yet. But this one is one of my favorites. She's got some pretty neat colors, and the appetite is also pretty endearing. This is one of our little Marooks. Chowing down. She's usually a little bit shy. There we go. It's all mush, so she doesn't have to eat that big of a mouthful if she doesn't want to. But most of the skinks are pretty big pigs, so they just kind of shovel food in their mouths and swallow as much as they can at a time. One more happy camper. This one looks like he's eating some snails. Ooh, gizzards. It sometimes takes them a bit to eat the gizzards because they can be kind of stuck together in a little bit of a string, but they don't mind. They swallow them down anyway.